Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasod Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Storu Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Storu Shishimat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anantikoti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Naam Acharya Slaridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navadvip Dham Ki Gangamai Jamunamai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 20th chapter, and it will be text 5, I think. This book only have up till the 19th chapter. It's okay, I've got it on my computer. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 20, text number 5. Atakayam imam vidvan avidya kama karmabhi arabda iti naivasmin pratibuddho nusajate atakayam imam vidvan avidya kama karmabhi arabda iti naivasmin pratibuddha nusajate atakayam imam vidvan avidya kama karmabhi arabda iti naivasmin pratibuddho nusajate atakayam imam vidvan avidya kama karmabhi arabda iti naivasmin pratibuddha nusajate. Atakayam imam vidvan Atakayam imam vidvan avidya kama karmabhi arabda iti naivasmin pratibuddho nusajate. The word for word. Atha, therefore, kayam, body, imam, this, vidvan, he who has knowledge, avidya, by nescience, kama, desires, karmabhi, and by activities, arabda, created, iti, thus, na, never, eva, certainly, asmin, to this body, pratibuddha, one who knows, anusajate, becomes addicted. Translation: those who are in full knowledge of the bodily conception of life, who know that this body is composed of nescience, desires and activities resulting from illusion, do not become addicted to the body. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As stated in the previous verse, those with good intellect do not accept themselves to be the body. Being a creation of nescience, the body has two types of activities. In the bodily conception, when we think that sense gratification will help us, we are in illusion. And another kind of illusion is to think that one will become happy by trying to satisfy the desires that arise from the illusory body or attaining elevation to the higher planetary systems, or by performing various types of Vedic rituals. This is all illusion. Similarly, material activities performed for political emancipation and social and humanitarian activities performed with an idea that people of the world will be happy are all also illusory, because the basic principle is the bodily conception, which is illusory. Whatever we desire or perform under the bodily conception is all illusion. In other words, Lord Vishnu informed Prithu Maharaj that although the sacrificial performances set an example for ordinary people, there was no need for such sacrificial performances as far as his personal self was concerned, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 45. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunya Bhava Arjuna Nidvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Shema Atmavan. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjun, be transcendental to all of them, be freed from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. The ritualistic performances recommended in the Vedas mainly depend on the three modes of material nature. Consequently, Arjuna was advised to transcend the Vedic activities. The activities Arjuna was advised to perform were transcendental activities of devotional service. Translation again. Those who are in full knowledge of the bodily conception of life, who know that this body is composed of nations, desires and activities resulting from illusion, do not become addicted to the body. Now in the purport there's quite a few points that are important, which Prabhupada stresses on the two type of activities, meaning the bodily conception of life, sense gratification, and where one is trying to become happy by trying to satisfy his desires. And the third point is about Vedic rituals. And Prabhupada quotes the verse from the Gita. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject matter of the three modes of nature. So we'll touch on some of these points, these ritualistic activities, but ultimately he speaks about Arjuna was advised to transcend these Vedic rites, these activities, and come to the platform of transcendental activities, which is bhakti or devotional service. So in a nutshell, we just paraphrase the purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, text number 62, Diyate visayan pumsa sangaste supajate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodha abhijate. So this verse, and there's a subsequent verse, krodhat bhavati samoha samohat smriti vibrama smriti brahmsad buddhina so buddhina sad pranasyati. So these two verses is talking about senses and the progression of spiritual fall down. This is what these two verses encapsulates. While you're contemplating on the object of the senses, either positively or negatively, then one develops attachment for them. And when that attachment becomes, it leads to lust. And when lust is unsatisfied, what it results in? Anger. Anger. Then delusion, then bewilderment of memory, and loss of intelligence, and then one falls down into the gross material existence again. So it's a very, powerful verse that's given in the Gita. And when one is contemplating on the object of senses, either positively or negatively, that's called the thinking stage. That's the first stage. You're thinking about it. So when you develop attachment for them, that's called the feeling stage, because you're feeling something. And then when it leads to lust, that is called the willing and the doing stage. So there's 3 stages. The thinking stage, the feeling stage, and the willing stage. So anything that we're thinking of, we sure to, if we're thinking of negative things, and it will lead to anger, and then we fall down again into this material pool. So Prabhupada also speaks about the body. And we learn from the Gita that the body is eternal. Huh? Is it eternal or temporary? The soul is eternal, yeah. The soul is eternal. And the body? The body is also eternal, right? When it comes to atoms, again, it's still in its atom stage. When it comes down, there's a nice verse in the Gita which explains in the 2nd chapter how, first it was atoms, then there's a formation, and then again it comes to atoms. You read that? You read that? That's there in the Gita. See, just like it, because you can't destroy it. It's the energy of Krishna. So, but the soul is eternal, and the body in the sense is temporary because it manifests, from atoms it's manifest. See, like this building is just a combination of earth, water, bricks, and made into a building. But when you crush it down again, it comes back to its original state. Atoms. So that the soul is eternal. For the soul there's neither birth nor death at any time. He does not come into being, will not come into being. He is eternal, ever existing. He is not slain when the body is slain. He doesn't die. It's eternal. And there's so many verses in the Gita talks about the eternality of the soul. What's the other verse, Ranga, in 2:12? Na tu evam jatu nasam, na tuam naima janadipa, na chaiva bhavisyama, sarvavaya mataparam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So in the past I was Krishna, in the present I am Krishna, and in the future I'll be Krishna. In the past you are Arjuna, in the present you are Arjuna, in the future you'll be Arjuna. So eternal, in that sense. So the Gita is explaining, and sometimes people don't like to listen to these verses because, you know why? Why people don't like to listen to these verses? Because it reminds them of the bodily concept of life. It's reminding you, think, hey, I don't hear this. As soon as you don't want to hear this, even as a devotee, meaning that you're attached to the body. Because that you want to enjoy the body. Because if it is a spiritual statement, wouldn't you want to listen to it all the time? Agreed? It's from the scripture. Wouldn't you want to listen to it? But hey, same thing, that devotee is only talking, you're not the body, you're not the body. Like when I was preaching, my daughter was young. She'd say, I know what you're going to talk about. And she always heard me saying the same thing. And even up till now, she says, I know what you're going to talk about. You're not the body. But the people, it's like, yeah, But then again, in the Bhagavad Gita, also in the 2nd chapter, that verse, I think probably Madhurya likes this verse. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being full but is always still, can alone achieve peace. And not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So the analogy of the ocean, it's filled with water, but especially during the rainy season there's more water that's coming, just like it's raining now. But do you see the waves coming to our temple? Is it coming in? Because it's satisfied. So in the same way, a devotee is not agitated. He's not, he's always fixed in his position, and he has lost all these inclinations to enjoy the body. Is fixed, and the devotee is not disturbed by such desires, because this verse is talking about desires, and you're not disturbed by such desires. Why? Because he's full. Because once a devotee is full with Krishna, then nothing material gonna come out. Just like sometimes people start gossiping all of a sudden. Do you know why? They'll talk about Krishna a little bit, and then after a while they'll start talking about, oh, you heard about this, different things. You know why? They're not full of Krishna. They're not feeling that fullness. That is why they'll have to speak something else. Get it? That is the reason. So as a Krishna conscious person, he's not looking for to fulfill his desires, material desires. He's satisfied, he's full with Krishna, just like the ocean. It's very satisfied. The devotees also should be satisfied and peaceful. Do you get that? You're peaceful, right? Satisfied. You're nodding your heads. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things can be said of material desires. But the verse that we often quote from the 2nd canto, chapter 3, text 10. What is the verse? You know it. Akarma sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrene bhakti yogena yajayati purusha param. So even if you have material desires or you have spiritual desires, we should still go back to Krishna. And it's important because the material desires are always going to come. And how do we overcome it? The fact is that how do you overcome it? By replacing it with spiritual desires. Yes, by replacing its spiritual desires. Like most of us, or at least speaking for myself, we may have mixed, we may be engaging in Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra or Bhakti or Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It's always mixed. And if a devotee or if a person has a motive and still wants to serve the Lord, some motive he has, it's like a Sakam devotee. He has some hidden motive. But in pure devotional service, one must have no motives, because you won't go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Yes, we say Prabhupada got the key to the back door and things like that. That's true, but we have to perfect ourselves to a large extent, to quite a high stage. Not necessarily, all right, just because I'm staying at the temple, I'll go back to Godhead. Oh no. It's not like that. So therefore you have to get knowledge. But Krishna is merciful that he can make a devotee that's attached to material desires and make him an akam devotee. Who doesn't have any material motives. He's just doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. And that is the the a high stage of devotional service. We see so many cases. We studied Dhruva Maharaj recently. We went to it in depth. How he became, he had some desire, but then he was satisfied when he met the Lord, and he simply wanted to serve the Lord without any material benefits. And it's not such an easy thing to do. Sometimes, it's found that a small child may eat some dirt. But what does his parents? Take away the dirty things and then give him one sandesh or one rasgulla. Sounds nice, huh? Or one mangal sweet. So devotees who aspire for material benedictions and have motives are compared to such children. Yeah. But the Lord is so kind, He just takes away those material desires. So here we see, this is about Prithu Maharaj. Now Prithu Maharaj is in a high category. And here you find that Lord Vishnu had brought Indra in the presence of Prithu Maharaj. And he's saying you have to forgive him. Imagine bringing your enemy in front of you now. But there's many lessons to learn. One, that you must forgive. And when you're forgiving, you have to forgive unreservedly. It's not that you forgive, like I was giving a talk one day. One lady said, yeah, she has some hatred or some ill feelings. Sisi Radha Radhanath ki. She has some ill feelings for a family member. So I said, okay. She said, I can forgive her, but I can't forget. So that's not forgiveness. You still have that seed of doubt in your heart. That's not forgiveness. You have to forgive from your heart and let everything go. Otherwise you'll keep that, and you'll still have that hatred and many people do. It's not so easy. So we can learn from Lord Vishnu is bringing Indra in the presence of Prithu Maharaj. Like if you have some ill feelings to somebody and they bring the person in front of you now, you feel awkward, right? But it's best to, we can learn from this that yes, when we want to forgive somebody, we may have to meet them. That's what we can learn from this. You can't do it over email. That's more impersonal. You get it? How that sounds? Something that we are all guilty of? Is it? Bilva? Okay, yeah. So we have to be very, very careful. We can learn from Prithu Maharaj, and Prithu Maharaj was not on the bodily concept of life because he was a Shakshravesha avatar. But here we can also learn that Lord Vishnu is telling him all these things. Because at some stage in the material world, at any stage you can be attracted to material sense gratification, and you can come under the bodily conception of life. So if somebody come to Krishna with material desires, and Krishna is an intelligent person, and he think this is foolishness. Why should I satisfy his material desires? Let me give him shelter at my lotus feet. Which is better? Shelter. When you take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, then you become free from material desires. Material desires is like poison. And the consciousness you pray, to overcome these things, is like Lord Brahma, he was worshipping Krishna in such high level of consciousness, and he wanted to become free from the fulfillment of material desires. But Krishna can fulfill any desire. But you can read all these prayers, of Brahma in the Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto. Because in a purport there, the Lord I'll just read it. The Lord certainly fulfilled all desires in regard to transcendental loving service, but He does not fill the wombs of non-devotees, even when such casual devotees offer Him the best prayers. It's a question of the consciousness. You offer prayer, in a mood of humility. Then the other points that comes up is again about sacrifice, yajna. And what's the best sacrifice for this day and age? Sankirtan, huh? Okay, Sankirtan yajna. So one takes troubles, to do Sankirtan, to go out in the streets, encourage people. It's quite a difficult task. It's like how a mother takes all kinds of trouble for the little child. But does she see it as trouble? No. We're just speaking like, even when we grown up, our parents were feeding us. And we found that when our parents were feeding us, we could eat more. Because it was it was more their love. Then they didn't find that as pain. Is that not so? So in that, like when you render service to Krishna, that is pleasurable. That's not trouble. Just like when we're dancing. The bodily, the body may pain sometime we're perspiring. But are you feeling that as trouble? No. You are feeling pleasure. Otherwise, how can you dance? You won't be able to do it. So this is the transcendental platform. So we have to come to that level. And then it spoke about engaging your senses in the service of the Lord. How do you overcome that? You engage your service. What is that verse from that's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Also, that verse, Sarvapadi Vinurmuktam. Tatparatevana nirmalam rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. That in Nectar of Devotion we also read about this particular verse. So when the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme Lord, there are two side effects. One is you become free from material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So you become free from material designation, and that is very important also, becoming free from material designation. I'm a Brahmin, I'm a head pujari. You have to become free from this thing. It's not so easy. You have to become free from these designations. So like even the designations of I'm Indian or I'm Hindu. So these are all designated desires, and therefore when we're preaching, there's a barrier. We think, oh, he's African, he's Indian. The Indian person will take more to Krishna consciousness. But it's not like that. We have to approach everybody and just give them Krishna consciousness. Like we're in the campus, we just approach anybody. Like in the earlier days, we should go and see now whether that person got 2 nails in the end of his door, then we know this fellow is a Hindu, got a garland there. When you're going on Sankirtan, or you'll see a janda, then you know that fellow is a Hindu person. They don't want to go there very freely. But we have to approach everybody and give them Krishna consciousness. Like Arjuna was also, he was also having these desires that this is my family member, this is my countrymen. I have to fulfill the desires of my family, my country, my tradition, like that. But when you transfer it to Krishna, one becomes purified. Desire cannot be killed. Can you kill desire? While you're sitting here, what you're desiring for? You want to share with us? So there's some nice verses in the I was reading last night, as usual, last minute, and then Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. And then in the next verse he says, since I'm intelligent, because God is the most intelligent person, Krishna, why should I give this fool that material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget all that material enjoyment, illusory material enjoyment. And what is the secret of success? Of becoming free from this material enjoyment? Once, Jayapataka Maharaj speaks about Prabhupada on the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Prabhupada began explaining that how he was following the order of his guru and the previous guru and the grandfather guru, the previous acharyas. Then he gave the example of how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, would go door to door and beg to help to build a temple in Mayapur Dham, and Prabhupada explained that he was doing the same thing, to please the spiritual masters, the previous acharyas. He was doing the same thing, wanted to build a temple in Mayapur Dham, and he was very appreciative of his disciples helping him, and then he couldn't speak any further. He just stopped, and he choked up, and he started crying, and there was a long silence, and the devotees didn't know what to do. And then Prabhupada said, the secret of success is to satisfy the desires of the previous acharyas. So when you're satisfying the desires of the previous acharyas, what's happening to you? You're becoming free from material desire. It's an amazing way how you become free. And another time, Bhavananda was like very greedy for service. He'd come 1 a.m. and then he would stay practically the whole day. They had different shifts. And Prabhupada said, you have taken the, most of the time. And then he said, I'm greedy for service at your lotus feet. But then Prabhupada said, no, you are greedy for service to Krishna. But although you're serving a spiritual master, which is, you cannot go to Krishna without the spiritual master. So he is saying, no, you're greedy for the service of Krishna. So that is the best qualification, that you're very greedy for Krishna's service. If you're greedy for the service to Krishna, then you don't have any material desires. And if you're greedy for material desires, then you don't serve Krishna. Then you don't serve Krishna. So another word that was used in the verse itself is becoming addicted to material pleasures. And we are entrapped, by material miseries, sleep a lot, so many different things. And then, we develop these tendencies. Even if you're in the temple, you're supposed to be getting up early, chanting, unless you're sick, that's another matter. Yeah. Because, and Prabhupada was speaking in one of the purports, probably in the Bhagavatam, he was talking about how the sunrise is visible from the eastern side, the Bay of Bengal, and then it gradually progresses to the west. And he said, it is practically experienced that people in the west are more addicted to sense gratification. They're more addicted. So the more one goes to the western side, the more one will find people disinterested in spiritual life. And you will find that these people behaving against Vedic standards. Vedic standard. It's there in the Bhagavatam. And the population on the western side, they're not interested in spiritual practice. It's more like Asuric civilization, demonic. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya's message has to be preached into these places. Otherwise, people become more addicted to sense gratification, and then they live a hellish life. But even in the Vedic text, tell you how to go to the heavenly planets and enjoy more. People also want that. And in the heavenly planets, the demigods are there, and the people are, they're living the demigods are living a more luxurious life, and even the people. But all of them are obedient to the orders of the Supreme Lord. There is no one in the heavenly planets who's an atheist or a non-believer. There's no one. And there's like interplanetary communication. Like, even from Earth planet, Yudhishthira and all could go to the higher planets. And the demigods, if they see a devotee advancing, in this case a little different for the Indra, they see a devotee advancing, like we all also sometimes we want some people to advance, some people not to advance. We also like that. So when they see a devotee advancing, then they appreciate the devotee, they give all respects, and with their powers, they want to, request the Lord to be merciful to the devotee. So there's an invisible cooperation between like the devatas, the devotees, and the Lord. But we don't see it. But then, Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes that verse from 245, which talks about the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. And he's telling Arjuna to become transcendental to these modes. Transcendental to these modes. And become free from all dualities. And from all anxieties, gain and safety, and be established in the self. So he's telling Arjuna to surpass this heavenly enjoyment and go back to the spiritual world. So Krishna, he doesn't want us to be stuck in this material mode of goodness. It's like a luxurious prison, You've been to prison. Have you been? Anybody been? I've been there. Yeah, for preaching purposes. Everybody was wearing saffron there. All got orange, And they all, none of them have committed any crime there. They said, no, we just locked up. None of them admitted they did something wrong. So it's like that, they satisfied, but it's very miserable. And it's just declared in the scriptures that this whole material world is miserable. There's so much we can speak about this. We don't have so much time. It's complete misery. And there may be gradations of suffering. Sometimes some people are given better facilities. They maybe can phone their wives and things like that. But they're still in prison. What good it is. You get it? So this is like temporary happiness, chapala sukha, You feel happy, misery, happy, misery. And this is how this world is. Then I was thinking, for Prithu Maharaj, he's an advanced king. What is the reason for him to do 9900 sacrifices, horse sacrifice? What is the reason? Actually, I couldn't find anything. But then I was thinking, because he was a king, and Krishna says in the Gita, kings such as Janak attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. And that's one of the points that I thought of when I just went in the morning from after chanting my rounds, and I read this verse. I said, this must be the reason. Because just to teach people, because they whatever they're doing from the scripture. Because in that kingdom, there must be some people who are worshipping devatas who are involved in sacrifice. So the king has to set that example. Now then on the other hand, Indra, we often hear this. Although he caused so much of offenses, but he still maintained the position. You thought about it? So he has that position, but remember, it's a position. It's a position. See, just like somebody do something good for you, you want to give him something in return. You get it? It's like a gift. So when Indra is managing the affairs, he's doing some service to Krishna. So Krishna reciprocates by giving him the position again. Like we also have that in our, in our own management systems, we also have the same thing. We might just give them, pretend, no, he did a good work, he did good service. Let him do it. Let him do it again. Don't we do that? But you know what he don't get? He don't get love of God. That's what he won't get. You can get the position, but you won't get the love of God. So that's why Indra doesn't just go back to Krishna or Goloka Vrindavan. You get it? So you may fight for all these type of things, but it's just another material, could be just another material desire that you want to fulfill, but you won't go back to Krishna. It's quite interesting. And the other verse I read, O son of Prita, there is no work prescribed for me within all three planetary systems, nor am in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in my prescribed duties. And Krishna gives example like of Janak Maharaj, who attained perfection just by performing his prescribed duties. And just like Krishna, he doesn't need anything, but he still acts according to the scriptures. So these are the reasons I thought more that King Prithu was just doing his duty, but King Prithu was the winner, because he didn't do the 100-horse sacrifice, but he's the winner. Because why? He'll go back to Godhead and Indra will get position. You get it? He's a loser. So sometimes you may be engaging very hard in lots of activities, but you're a loser. So there's so many things we can talk about, but I've got a few minutes more. Oh, yeah. Then now coming to like King Prithu, and King Prithu, he wanted to have millions of years. Later on you will read, to hear the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. He want millions of years. Yes. He specifically mentioned that the glories of the Lord should emanate from the mouths of pure devotees who speak from the core of their hearts. And yet, like we find, like Rupa Goswami also desired millions of years, millions of tongues to glorify Lord Krishna. So that the prescribed process for this day and age is the chanting of the holy name, which surpasses, which will take you above the ritualistic activities in the Vedas, and take you back to the spiritual world. So hearing the Bhagavatam, you must hear from a pure devotee, like how Rupa Goswami, as we said, desired millions of years and millions of tongues to just chant the holy name. So many things. And talking about that, and today is the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur. So I thought I'll just connect that to Haridas Thakur, which I thought maybe we would read a two verses, at least few verses from the Antya Leela, third chapter 117 onwards, talking about Haridas Thakur. Like generally, we find here that Prithu Maharaj, Subhadra, the flower from Krishna fell, huh? Yeah, I think he was very pleased with your efforts to dress it. I was singing. I got more inspired to sing. Yeah, we were happy to see you. Okay, sure. So then, they're talking about Haridas Thakur, like Prithu Maharaj. He was doing this horse sacrifices, and Indra, in the disguise of a Brahmin or a sannyasi, was coming and stealing the horses. So there's so many people will come like this in disguise in the midst of performing devotional service or within the arena of devotees, but they'll have ulterior motives. So you have to be careful. And here Ramachandra Khan has sent the prostitute to seduce him and give up his practice. But Haridas Thakur was very powerful, and although it was a couple of times that the prostitute came and Haridas Thakur carried on chanting because he hadn't completed his rounds. And somewhere there he says, when Lord Krishna is saying him, or Lord Chaitanya is saying him, now you can stop. He said, because he can stop chanting his rounds, but he said, no, that's the only disease that I have. I can't complete my rounds. So chanting our rounds is very important. And then you see how, you'll know the story, I won't get, because I don't have much time, but in where Haridas Thakur says, please sit down and hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra until my regular chanting is finished, then your desire shall be fulfilled. So he is always promising he'll fulfill a desire, but he's tricking her, he's just making her hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And then finally, she gets purified from the whole process. She's at the sitting in front of Tulsi Devi and chanting. So a devotee will always find, Prabhupada says in one of his purports there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that a devotee will always find ways and means to induce somebody to take to spiritual life. Like there's Jayapataka Maharaj says, like he went to a doctor, and probably a devotee doctor. So he asked what type of people come. He said all the people come here, they are like sinful and like they're not interested in spirituality. So he said them, you have to make them do hand coordination. Teach them hand coordination. So you touch your knee, and then you point to your chest. This is my chest. So you say knee, my, so they'll be chanting knee, my, right? And then I think in another situation, he asked what type of people come there. Then he said, well, like aristocratic people, coats, tie and suit, and like maybe more, well-dressed people. Then he said, you can still do hand coordination there. You'll say knee, tie, knee, tie. So he's wearing his tie, he's like knee, tie. This is hand coordination. Knee tie. So knee, my, and knee tie. So they look at different ways of how to engage people in spiritual practices. So here we find that Haridas Thakur tricked this prostitute. She was in the mood that, Ramachandra Khan has sent me, I'm going to seduce this person and make him fall down. We started talking about falling down right in the beginning. Right? But it didn't really work. And he knew that he says, yeah, I thought that today I would be able to finish my performance of Yagya, my chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. I tried my best to chant the holy name all night, but I still did not finish. Tomorrow I'll surely finish my vow, and my vow will be fulfilled. Then it will be possible for me to enjoy with you in full freedom. So we can't try all these things. This is not for us now. But if you're at that level, if you're chanting a lot, then possibly, maybe, you know. And it went on and on like that. But anyway, in the end, towards the end, she surrendered. And she became a pure devotee. But because she associated with the saintly person, and the saintly person was giving the highest form of worship for this particular age, which is above the ritualistic performances of the Vedas, and going back to, you can go back to Godhead. But I want to conclude with what I read when Prabhupada wanted a play done by the devotees, and then there was anyway the devotees were trying to put up a play, and Prabhupada was assisting them because they didn't have a good idea of how to write the script. And then Srila Prabhupada wanted the passing away of Haridas Thakur. He wanted this scene. And I'll read this. He said, yes, Prabhupada said. Then they very casually, Hayagriva mused aloud. So he finally met his end there in the 5th scene. Like the way Hayagriva Prabhu is saying it, that he met his end, it was just like an ordinary death. And then Prabhupada hesitated. Yet again, Hayagriva revealed his lack of transcendental knowledge, talking as though Haridas passing away was the same as an ordinary man's meeting his end. All right, Hayagriva cued him. What is this particular incident? And Prabhupada starts speaking. The particular incident is significant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a Brahman, and he was a sannyasi. And according to social custom, he should not even touch a Mohammedan, because Haridas Thakur was a Muslim. And yet, at his death, he took the body and he danced, and he put it in the graveyard and distributed prasadam. So because Haridas was a Mohammedan, he did not enter the temple of Jagannath Puri, because the Hindus were very strict. Haridas was a devotee, but he thought, why should I create some row? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated Haridas' humble behavior. Although he had become a devotee, he was not forcibly going to the temple. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was daily coming and seeing him. And while going to take bath in the sea, he will first of all see Haridas Thakur. What are you doing, Haridas? Will offer his respect, and he will sit and talk for some time. Can you imagine? What an exalted devotee. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will go and take his bath. In this way, one day when he came, he saw Haridas not feeling very well. Haridas, how is your health? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, how is your health? Yes, sir, it is not very... After all, it is the body. And this is what our topic is today. That is what the verse where Vishnu is talking to Prithu Maharaj. After all, it is the body. Then the third day he saw that Haridas is going to leave his body. He's going to leave his body today. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, Haridas, what do you desire? Now we read in our purport, it's all about desires. What do you desire? So both of them could understand. Then Haridas said, this is my last stage. If you kindly stand before me. You kindly stand before me. Now remember, this Prabhupada is now narrating the scene of how it happened. And Srila Prabhupada became caught in intense spiritual emotions of the scene, as it was happening before him right there. He was like really caught with it. And he closed his eyes and he said, He stopped talking. Then he began to began again slowly. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood before him and he left his body. Haridas left his body. So Prabhupada sighed and became silent. And Hayagriva sat staring at the floor. When he glanced up, he saw that Swamiji was crying. So he was in that pastime, witnessing the whole thing. And today is the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur, so we can meditate upon him. I like speaking about Haridas Thakur. So next time we could speak more about him. We'll stop here. Just took a few minutes more. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Yes, Ranga? That's an interesting point. Yeah, that's quite good. Thank you for that. And the thing is about Bali Maharaj, I wanted to speak about him, but we didn't have the time. But I'll just make the point, just one point about it, is that he was Mahajan. But when he was, when he offered the 3 steps of land, and in 2 steps, Vaman, they have covered the entire creation, then the 3rd step was on the head. But the wife, one of the wives of Bali Maharaj, I don't know if he had more wives, but at least the wife, let me say the wife. The wife was saying, when he was being arrested, the wife was thinking that there was justification in him being arrested because he was still in the bodily concept of life. Because he was thinking that that body belongs to him. It's an interesting point, huh? Because you put it on my head. You were still thinking like that. So you're still in the bodily concept of life. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.